It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News on this, the 9th day of April, 2020. We're coming to you from Bedford County in Virginia, Central Virginia, near Lynchburg, on a typical spring stormy day. We had some pretty good thunderstorms during the night last night. It's supposed to be reasonably warm today. Was up in the 80s for a couple days. Now it'll be quite that warm today. But anyway, got a couple things to cover this morning. If you're new to this channel, welcome aboard. Our subscriber count keeps growing every day. We appreciate that. If you're new, feel free to hit the little subscribe button anytime during this broadcast if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves. My interview show is called Chillie Chats, and of course, Travel and Cruise Industry News, which we meet every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning at 11 a.m. So before I get to today's discussion, let's see who we've got over in the chat. Tom Henry is with us. Good to see you, Tom. Bonnie says that I'm upset with the use NCL. Yes, I am. Hi, Gretchen. Gretchen is here also. I'm a little upset with Norwegian because they keep telling me that oh, we're not going to cancel this cruise to Alaska in May. We're going to continue after May the 10th as normal. Well, we know that that's not true. Norwegian is just avoiding taking care of things. Anyway, Tom, welcome aboard as usual. Amy Rogers is with us. Howdy. I hope you've got some good news today. I'm going through cruise withdrawal. Isn't that the truth? Jason's with us from Pittsburgh. Hey, Jason, good to see you again this morning. Oh, and Kay Trent. Hi, she's from Pennsylvania also. All right, so we got some new faces out there today. Glad to see you guys. Welcome aboard. And yes, Amy, I do agree with you on cruise withdrawals. Now, I would like to say one thing about that. I don't know if any of you caught my broadcast yesterday. If you recall, on Tuesday, I said that I had begun reading some tea leaves, and I was picking up on signs that the cruise industry was going to continue their mandatory suspension of operations. I thought until the 1st of July was the way I was reading the signs. The signs were exactly the same as they were on the first two announcements of the suspension of operations. The last announcement came about, 10 days or 2 weeks ago, which basically locked everything down until the middle of May. Different days for different cruise lines, but roughly we're calling it the middle of May. The signs that I began picking up on early Tuesday morning said that the next suspension of operations was going to be until July the 1st. Yesterday, I was contacted by an individual from one of the major cruise lines, and he asked to stay that I would not use his name or position, so I will not. And he said that my assumption was spot on, that they were seriously looking at the voluntary suspension of operations, only they could start as early as the 20th of June. So from the 20th of June to the 1st of July is probably going to be the next suspension of operations. Now, what does that mean? That means simply that they are fully aware of the fact that they can't cruise. There's no way, Carnival has been playing with the thing to try to do some cruises from select cruises with short passengers, cut back on the passengers, and a couple select places in this area from May to after the May 10th or whatever Carnival shut down to May. Well, I forget the date, but in May, they were talking and playing was doing some cruises, a few to try to move back into getting open. Well, you're still in the same situation. The airlines are not flying. You can't get passengers there. The hotel industry is shut down, so you can't stay the night before or after a cruise. You're still under mandatory staying at home, staying away from people. You can't get in groups of 10 people or more. Many of the states have mandatory stay-at-home orders, and they want us to keep doing that for a while. Now, admittedly, they're trying to get to the point where we can get back to normal and start getting the business open again. I don't see it happening in May. I really don't. It may be some slightly, but not enough for the cruise lines to start. It's my opinion. I know Carnival is looking at the possibility of trying some. I just don't see how they can do it. But I am informed from an insider that the next major suspension of operation is going to come somewhere between June 20th and July 1st. So those of you that are scheduled on a cruise the first week of July, while I still think that's in question, it's not shut out yet by the cruise lines. So if you're scheduled on a cruise before July 1st, I wouldn't count on it, folks. And yes, Tom, my issue with Norwegian is that, I know they can't go to Alaska May the 11th, so cancel the thing. Give me my chance of either getting the cruise credit with the benefits or whatever, let's get it over with. So get taken care of. That's just me. So, all right, guys, there are a couple things that I do want to talk about this morning. I found it interesting that Genting Cruises is one of the European folks. It's Asian based. The owner of Dream Cruises and Star Cruises has revealed exactly the steps that they're going to take when they get the cruises open again to try to counterbalance all the problems the cruise industry had with COVID-19. Now, CLIA has made many of the same suggestions. That's the Cruise Line International Association, or whatever the CLIA stands for, but all the cruise line companies, and many of the major three have said virtually the same thing. So apparently, Genting's is a kind of a compilation of all the suggestions. That's one of the Genting boats. But anyway, the procedures are pretty thorough. And this is probably what cruise life is going to look like as we get into the future. Obviously, embarkation and disembarkation is going to be a little different. There will be mandatory temperature screening and pre-boarding health declarations for all guests. Notice they don't say anything about the note from the doctor for old folks, like was called for by one of the cruise lines before all this shut everything down. So mandatory temperature screening, pre-boarding health declarations for all guests. Infrared fever screening system at the ship's gangway. So that's one of those things where they aim it at your head and can tell you if you have a fever or not. Higher frequency cleanings with increased levels of sanitization and disinfection at the ship gangway and passenger walkways. Stringent checks for all embarking individuals, including crew travel documents, guests age 70 and above to provide a doctor's certificate. I missed that when I read this the first time. So we do have, if you are 70 and above, you do have to provide a doctor's certificate of fitness for travel. Online check-in for guests who will then receive designated arrival times to minimize crowd congestion at the terminal. So that means those appointments that never did seem to work, they're going to expect you to abide by that now. So there also will be additional waiting areas for cruise boarding and disembarkation provided, and compliance with all local port and health authorities regulations. So that means that, this is general rules, but the individual ports could add further things on. So that's on disembarkation, embarkation procedures, the day you're going to sail and so forth. Now, guest accommodations. Higher frequency cleanings with increased levels of sanitization and disinfection in guest cabins with hospital-grade disinfectants, including twice daily wipe down of guest cabins and guest cabin corridors, fogging of vacant guest rooms and guest cabin corridors. So they've come up with some type of a fogging system. Apparently, it's a chemical cleaning system that kills the virus. Is the way I'm reading this, although they never say specifically that. Clean and disinfect guest bathrooms with heavy-duty alkaline bathroom cleaner and disinfectant. Timely removal of food items from cabins to prevent spoilage and cultivation of microorganisms and bacteria. Timely housekeeping, cabin turnover into drains to avoid clogged pipes and to prevent bacterial growth. In case of sickness, thorough cleaning and disinfection with hospital-grade disinfectant and fogging the cabin afterwards. All public areas on board will undergo a two-tier sanitization process with a thorough cleansing, fogging, and wiping using a hospital-grade disinfectant. On ship venues and cleaning frequency, elevators every 2 hours. Public areas and facilities 2 to 10 times a day. Spa and amenities minimum 2 times a day. Other public areas to adjust disinfection frequency accordingly. So they're getting pretty serious about this, folks. The cleaning procedures are a lot heavier than they were. It goes on to say it's a bunch of boring crap when you get into neutral pH, floor cleaning stuff, and it's nuts. But the cleaning is going to be much heavier than in the past. So apparently this is the major thing that all cruise lines will be going under now for keeping the cruise ships a lot cleaner and hopefully healthier than they've been in the past. At least that's what we hope. So that was the main story this morning. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of news going on right now. We talked yesterday about the Coral Princess. They are using the new CDC guidelines on getting the passengers home. At least most of the passengers are off the ship now. There's some international passengers still on the Coral Princess. There was an issue that popped up during the night on an Antarctic cruise on somebody I'd never heard of. It's a ship out of Australia. So that's not likely that we're going to get much news on that. That's something new. So there are still a few ships that are out there that have not had to go through this suspension that we are under, at least in this country, and our friends over in Europe are under. And quite frankly, folks, I think that's going to continue a little bit longer. So, all right, let's jump back over here and see. I was going to check and see if I've got any comments on Facebook. It doesn't show on my phone. So let's do this. As most of you know that have been following me for a while, I do these live broadcasts go live to Facebook and to YouTube. And then when we do videos, they're posted in both as well. So we need to move Tina Turner. Tom says we need to move Tina a bit to the right so we can see her. Okay, so that's Tina Turtle back there in the background. And yes, Tom, you would note that I am in a little different angle from normal. I moved my camera around a little bit. I'm playing with some things, trying to change up a little bit. But Tom, yes, you're correct. I do have Tina Turtle blocked this morning, so I'll have to work on that, or she'll get upset. Let's see. Where were we here? Gretchen says, I wonder if I'll make my July 1st maiden voyage on Enchanted Princess. I've been wondering since March. Gretchen, I hope you can, but I'm still doubting it. I really am. I can't see them getting back in the shape of getting things going that quickly. Yeah, Tom's got a cruise right after that too. So I think his is the second or third or first week of July. Conchita Herrera. Hello, Conchita. Thanks for joining us. Tom Henry. That was to move Jason. Jason says, I used price protection to save $100 on my October cruise last night. Prices are dropping. I noticed that some of the prices are dropping, especially with Carnival. So, folks, if you're looking strictly for a bargain, that's an area that you might want to seriously look at. Conchita, I have a cruise on Royal Caribbean in August. I have to pay the rest of the money in May. Should I pay by August? My best guess on August is you're probably going to go. So my advice to that is, I will probably go ahead and pay. Jason says that Tina is not impressed again. What can I say? Tina's hard to get along with. By the way, if you're new, folks, that's Tina Turtle back there in the background. Tina Turtle oversees everything I do. And when she gets upset, she nibbles me right in. Oops, it's this ear over here. Nibbles me in the ear and says she doesn't like things. That's Tina Turtle. So, Bonnie says her doctor would sign that form. Oops, I missed on where that one came from. Okay, so as you can tell, folks, the conversations go on amongst everybody in the chat, and sometimes I don't know what the hell's going on because I'm sitting here working on getting my stories out. Let's see. Here's Amy. I think the cruise lines have always been cleaning. I think it's the passenger habits that have caused the spread of virus on ships. Well, I think probably you're right about that. And clearly that's where it started from. Passengers had to bring it on board. And several people agree with that philosophy. I have never felt unsecure or had problems on all the cruises I've done over the years with anything that I wasn't just happy with on a cruise ship as far as cleaning goes. Yeah, occasionally I've been on older ships that might have needed some sprucing up, but it wasn't from cleanliness. I mean, they've always, to me, have been clean. My cabins have always been fine. The food service is always, even if you've been on one that the food wasn't the best, the food service areas were clean. I never worried about bad food. I know occasionally you'll get some of the complainers that that are going to find fault, but I never have. I've always been more of the philosophy that there's never a bad cruise. Well, I always taken on cruising that way, and I felt perfectly comfortable in doing it. So, cleaning, yes, but disinfecting and fogging is new. Yeah, the fogging I was not aware of at all. That's a totally new thing. And the only time I've ever even known of a fogging type system to be used was when there on one ship there was a small fire, and they used a fogging system to take care of the smoke smell, to get the smoke smell out, and it was a fogging type system. But as far as using it for cleanliness, that's something new to me. So Amy says Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line announced they're going to resume operation on Mother's Day weekend, but their clientele, I think, is Americans who drive to the port. Yeah, they go from Palm Beach, one of those places down there near where Bonnie's from. I don't remember the exact little port. It's a small line, and they run over to Bahamas. They've done terrific work in taking supplies back and forth since the hurricanes. I have never been on the line. I've never been on one of the ships. I'm not even sure I've ever even seen one of the ships. But anyway, I saw that they were going to try to get started again Mother's Day weekend. And I think you're right, Amy. They do count on people driving. So there's a lot of locals there in Florida that use them, as opposed to the big three that count on people flying in from all over the world to get on their ship, and clearly all over the United States. So anyway, I did forget here, folks. I slipped up and didn't do my commercial for Scoot Around. So I'm going to pause for 1 second for a word from Scoot Around. Do you have a bad back, bad hips, bad knees, or any other mobility issues? Think about Scoot Around. For scooters, walkers, wheelchairs, even oxygen needs, delivered right to your cabin. Scoot Around for all your mobility needs on your upcoming cruise. I didn't mean to start that again. My bad. Okay, so, and did I cut myself off I can't tell if I cut myself off or not on volume. But anyway, hopefully I didn't. So, you know me, I'm always screwing things up. All right, that's it this morning, folks. Again, there wasn't a whole lot of news other than, that the information that came out on the new procedures on what we're going to see on cruise ships. If any of you guys hear from any of your cruise lines or cruise providers on cruises from the middle of May on, especially with the cancellation procedures, let me know. Drop a comment in one of my videos, or send me a message or whatever, especially as we get up closer to that July 1st kind of cutoff date that I think we're going to be hearing more about in the next week or so, as the cruise lines expand their mandatory suspension of operations. So anyway, guys, that's it for this morning. Thanks for being with me. I will see you on what's today, Thursday. I'll see you Saturday morning, and of course I will go live with any kind of breaking news that comes my way between now and then. So for now, you guys have a great day. Enjoy the beautiful spring weather I hope you're having. And I'll see you guys on Saturday. Later, y'all.
Thank you for watching today's Travel and Cruise Industry News. Join us every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern for another episode. Travel and Cruise Industry News is a production of Chillie's Cruises.